Hi, my name is Masha, I'm the blonde from Coding Blonde, and welcome to the first video of the Inspirational Women series, where I share stories of women that inspire me, hoping that they would also inspire you because, they're amazing, incredible, strong, and just badass. And today you're in for a treat because I've interviewed Jamie Adler, who has been in the tech scene for over 25 years now. She has seen the very beginning of the industry and she has seen it bloom and develop, and she's developed with it. Jamie has been driving innovation in software and internet products in different startups, consulting companies, and a Fortune 500 company. She's currently part of the team at NCWIT, which stands for National Center for Women and Information Technology, where she's helping to build a pipeline of future women in tech.
I'm Jamie Adler, and here's my story.
How did you end up in tech? Was it an intentional move, or how did you end up there? What was your journey like?
Technology and I have sort of evolved together over the last 30 years that I've been working. I stumbled into it, as a lot of people did even before the internet, but the internet was new in the middle of my career, and so people would be discovering things to do and how to do them, and in some ways that makes it easy to learn because you're starting with a little bit to know, and that you grow as the volume of knowledge grows. And it was a very exciting time to be learning it with PCs were new when I was in college, and then we evolved along the lines of the internet, and telecom has really evolved. I worked in telecom for a while, so I got to see a lot of things from the beginning, which was great. And I didn't really set out to work in software per se, because it wasn't really much of a thing. I explored it a little in high school, and I didn't really click, but all the signals along the way kept guiding me back to that. And now here I am, having done that a few times.
You said that you were introduced to the different technologies as you went through it. How did you end up learning how to code?
So coding came in a variety of forms, really started out of the necessity for a database. And once you have a database, then there's more things you want to do with the database. Once you understand what the power is of a relational database, you're like, oh, well, then I need to display it and have things happen and take data in. And a lot of that is best done with code. So I started playing with some SQL code at that point and learning how to make things happen, and found it interesting and found out I was pretty good at it. I thought like a computer thinks. So if I could just lay things out in a orderly manner and add if-thens to replicate human thinking, then voila, a computer is doing what you want it to do instead of a human needing to do it. And that appealed to me, and it became clear to me I was pretty good at doing it. I didn't have a lot of formal training, so I ended up reading a lot of books and manuals and sitting for certification exams, which come with the proper training, so you can kind of follow it along. But it was mostly self-taught after seeing a necessity to get something done. And then with the internet, that changed what coding felt and looked like. There was a whole lot more tools that were simple, and I just sort of evolved through that path as those tools showed up, so I can throw together a website now. But I still use my SQL skills today in getting into databases and doing stuff. It's kind of amazing how many things haven't changed.
Exactly.
Even though so many have.
Exactly, and for example, I've heard that a lot of industries still use the older languages for analysis. For example, R is still used.
Well, it was interesting to live through Y2K when we thought all the computers were going to crash at the close of midnight on December 31st, 1999, because so many of the old languages didn't account for 4-digit years. So everything that said 99 was going to reset to 0, and we didn't know what that was going to do, right? Are all of the power grids going to fail, and we're going to be sitting in the dark until we all sort this out? So there was a lot of people working in those years up to 2000 to try to fix all the old systems, and fortunately I think it went really well. But there was a lot of old languages in use that got upgraded at that point. It's kind of a crazy way to do things, but at the time people just started doing things, and they just keep doing them that way. We see that in a lot of things in managing servers today. You still kind of got to know Unix and get in there and type in on the command line, and that's the way we were doing it 30 years ago. got trained as a system administrator on Next computers, which is what Steve Jobs left Apple for the first time he left, and created this company called Next. They were these amazing little 1-foot square boxes that were ahead of their time, really, and they were all built to network. So they were an intranet, but they were networked, and it was on its way to the internet. And they needed to be administered, and they were Unix based. The whole Mac operating system is actually based on Unix. A lot of people don't realize that the UI was tacked onto that. He once again had used that as the basis of his operating system at Next, and I got to learn how to do that stuff in the back end because I was a consultant and we were implementing these things. Somebody had to do it, and nobody knew it. So I was as good a candidate as any, even though I have a sociology degree. And I was working at my first job doing this because they could see, other people could see, better perhaps than I could see, that you know what, you're good at this. You think like a computer. And it was those prompts over the years that really took me through my path. Thankfully, I had some decent people looking out for me who were like, you're really good at this. You should do this more. From the first time I started using a Mac in college, and then found myself training people to use them in the lab, to where I was at Deloitte & Touche Consulting, and they were like, we need your help over here because nobody knows how to do this, so you may as well be the one that learns. So yeah, a lot of good mentorship from males that I worked for along the way that helped me become a successful woman in tech. Pretty lucky. But I really believe that luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And so when we all think we're getting lucky, it's because we were ready and we recognized, hey, that's an opportunity. I'm going to take it. I don't know anything about Unix administration, but I can learn it. I'll read the book. They sent me to boot camp, Redwood City, California, which is in Silicon Valley, when the big earthquake hit in 1989, I believe that was. That brought down the second-story highway. It was a big, big earthquake. And I was at a Next boot camp, sitting in this building with a glass atrium that just came crashing to the ground. And everybody's coming out of the rooms, looking around and trying to figure out where do you go next. Maybe that was an opportunity I missed, I don't know. But I wasn't prepared to die that day, so I didn't. So yeah, getting lucky has been a theme, but as I got older I realized maybe it's not just luck. It was paying attention, looking around and going, this is an opportunity. I should take it.
That's amazing. And wow, that sounds terrifying, to be honest, about the atrium.
It was. I wasn't in the atrium when it came crashing down. I was in a room, but when you walked out, you're like, oh God, do we stay? Do we go?
Yeah.
What happens next?
Business back to normal? Or
yeah,
what?
the lights were out. They're like, I guess I'll go get in my car and drive somewhere else. But we didn't know where the earthquake had come from. We didn't know where it was worse. It could have been ones driving on that freeway. Yeah, and nobody had cell phones yet. So, well, some people did, those big bricks.
Yeah, like suitcases.
We didn't have cell phones. So yeah, it was just like, I guess I'll go to my hotel. It was the only night I've ever spent in a hotel without power, just candlelight. They gave everybody candles.
Romantic.
Went to their rooms, yeah. Fortunately, their phone system worked. I called my friends and loved ones and other places and said, I'm here, I'm okay. Yeah, in retrospect, once I knew I was okay and people I cared about were okay, I was like, all right, that's going to be a good story one day.
Exactly.
And it has been.
In terms of stories, it sounds like you have so many interesting stories and so many fascinating experiences. Is there a project or a story that stands out to you?
As a life experience, I mean, it's cool to talk about like Steve Jobs and that kind of thing because everybody knows him, and we got to deploy his computers for the William Morris Agency, which is the biggest talent agency in the world. So that's like cool. But from a life experience, really the one that stands out was going into my own business with 3 other founders where we were serving the adventure travel industry and providing them the infrastructure they need to do their job better. I mean, they're tour operators, right? They're about giving people experiences that change their life. And so for them, the computer is just a pain in the butt, basically, that they'd rather not deal with. But it became clear as the internet grew that it was going to be critical. You couldn't do business without a website, and then eventually a transactional website. And having been by that point in product management for a while, became the person at Adventure Central, which was the company that did all the product management as well as operations side of things. So by then I was starting to realize my superpower was optimizing things and making them work smoothly and quickly and easily, both for the users, if it was a computer system, but also a lot of things don't need technology, they just need a process so that they can go better, faster, easier, and repeatable. That experience of founding a company, working with partners, serving a customer, building something from scratch was phenomenal. It was life-changing, and it made me realize how much I really love helping other entrepreneurs, which has put me on a path to helping a lot of female entrepreneurs who seem to need the extra inspiration and lift and push. Sometimes we do a monthly thing where the entrepreneur has the opportunity to present to us and get some advice, and we find so often that they really know exactly what to do, how to do it, why to do it, that it's going to work. They haven't quite gotten that confidence that they need to do it. They want somebody else to say, yeah, this is a great idea. Tweak this, consider that, but I think you're onto something. So we look at our job as just shoving them off the cliff, basically, because they're there. They got it. And sometimes, for some women, it's harder to feel confident in doing that, whereas men, in most cases, feel more confident just running off the ledge. So it's an interesting job to help with, to just be the one of those of us who do this to say, yeah, you're there, jump, go. I'm pushing now, because they need it and they like it, and they always come back and say thank you. But that's where I realized how much I liked helping entrepreneurs, because we were helping these small business people at Adventure Central who were changing people's lives literally by taking them out climbing mountains or going down rivers and just having these amazing experiences, and we got to help them help everybody else. I really liked that.
Why do you think that this gender gap exists in the tech industry?
Yeah, the gender gap in tech. Well, my day job now is working for the National Center for Women and IT, because I discovered my passion for that as well along the way. That the answer to that question, right? Why is this happening? For me, I always felt like there was a place for me, but that's because I tend to behave more like males in our average cultural norms, and I just push and I push through, but not all women are comfortable doing that. I totally get that. And what I've come to understand is that the data now bears out the fact that it's really the teams and the businesses that are losing out by not having that diversity and welcoming the women's style, because diverse teams produce better bottom lines, and there's just no question in the data now. And it's not just women, but diversity in general brings diversity of thought, life experiences. These things matter. And so when you're trying to solve a problem, which every organization or business is, if you have more diverse thought, you get better outcomes. So the answer is clear. The question is, what has to change to make that happen, to make women and minorities feel welcome in places that are now culturally not very diverse. There are a lot of signals, it turns out, in the environment that start pretty young for girls, like 6th grade. They start to clue into the fact that, oh, this isn't for me, because it can be a variety of reasons. Subtle, unconscious bias from teachers who don't even realize that they're treating the boys and the girls differently. It can come from the classroom, the environment around them. If it's more about things young men are interested in than young girls, like video games and Star Wars movies and things like that, if you're not full-on geek, it feels like, oh, well, this isn't for me, I don't belong here, so maybe I shouldn't be in computing. And all these subtle things work together. Parents, again, unconsciously often, just give out these subtle signals, and we hear about it in things like the toys we give our kids. I have a son and a daughter. I tried to get my daughter to play with trucks. She wasn't really into it. I tried to get my son to play with dolls. He did for a while, and then he wasn't into it, and probably because of the other clues he was getting in the society. But as parents, we tend to just do what we've been familiar with and expose them to those things. But everybody's different. Not all women are alike, not all men are alike, and we have to treat each person independently. And those of us who can do the computational thinking ought to be unafraid to pursue careers in tech. Now, it's not for everybody. You have to be able to think like a computer for it to make sense to you. logic, right? And stepping through and if-then loops. And yeah, there's a language to learn as well, but really it's, do you think that way in the first place? Can you think that way? Do you enjoy thinking that way? Is that one of your superpowers? And can you find your superpower? And that's really hard to do. And sometimes you can't do it yourself. Sometimes somebody else has to tell you, like I was saying about my early career, you know what, you're pretty good at this. Why don't you try this project? Make it happen. Sometimes it takes our parents or bosses, teachers, to guide us. And so I think there's a lot of information going around now that's helping those influencers help girls to realize they do belong here. We can tweak this, we can change that so they don't feel unwelcome. We're sitting in an engineering building, for example. There's a plant and a sculpture that feels more warm than maybe it might have in here 20 or 30 years ago, or in another part of the engineering building that hasn't quite been updated like this. So those little things all matter. And we need to feel like we have an identity as women in computing that, yes, we're computers too. And that's the secret, I think, from what I've learned at NC-WIT mainly.
I love that. Yeah, identity and the sense of belonging in any industry is super important. And if you don't think that you're going to belong there because you're different, because, for example, you like color pink, or if you don't like superhero movies or Star Wars, for example, if you find them boring, potentially, not saying anything, but just potentially if you do find them boring and then you assume that everybody else is just playing World of Warcraft.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm sure men feel the same way when they choose to become a teacher or a nurse. They enter an environment that has not been set up for their success. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of them feel like, why do I have to bring food to a potluck? You know, that's not what I do, but that's what all the women are doing. I don't know, but I'm sure they have their own cases of that unconscious bias impacting them.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot of men struggle with showing emotion exactly for that reason, because they don't know how to, and they are supposed to not behave that way. And
right.
Yeah.
And cultural norms are fascinating, right? And I'm sure you've traveled the world far more than I have, but you've seen how it impacts different cultures differently.
Definitely. And being from Russia.
Yeah.
Quite a conservative society.
Yeah, and pretty traditional gender roles.
Very traditional. But what advice would you give to women who are thinking about getting into the tech industry?
Do it. It's the best time ever to get into it. The opportunities are immense. The challenges are broad. And you don't even have to be a coder, although it certainly helps. Everybody should speak that language. It's just like learning Spanish, which is the most popular language here in the US. To learn as a second language, you should learn something that's coding oriented, whether it's HTML or PHP or something. But you don't have to be a coder. There's so many other interesting things. I'm a sociology major by training, and I have an MBA. So neither of those were really to prepare me for a career in tech, but it turns out they're super helpful because you have to work together as a team, and 90% of the time you're working towards a business goal, not a nonprofit situation. So if you know how to make money, if you understand what the end user wants, what consumers need, being able to build it comes in lots of flavors. You can be the coder, you can be the product manager, you can be the quality assurance person. There's projects to manage. There's a lot of aspects to it. All of them can be built on the basis of understanding how the coding works, how the computer works, and go out from there. So do it.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That interview was amazing. I couldn't get a smile off of my face because I just was super inspired by everything you said. I hope that you guys have enjoyed that as much as I did, and if you want to learn more about what NC-WIT does, about their programs, research, and promising practices when it comes to attracting and retaining female talent in technology, go to ncwit.com, and the clickable link will be in the description below. And if you want to follow Jamie on social media, the links will also be in the description. So yes, go ahead, scroll down and press them and follow her because she is phenomenal. Please let me know if you have any comments, suggestions, ideas in the comments below or in my Instagram. And other than Instagram, you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, follow my blog, sign up to my newsletter, you know, all this good stuff. Let's share the love, let's multiply it. And yeah, of course, make sure you subscribe to this channel and have notifications on, because I have so much cool content coming for you. Have a wonderful time of the day you're currently experiencing. Bye.